ranking all of these Dragon Ball arcs from worst to best. Let's go. Starting off with the Tournament of Destroyers, a pretty grandiose name for a pretty uneventful arc. The highlight was easily Goku vs. Hit, and although it was a good fight, the animation definitely looked like booty cheeks at times. A lot of the other characters were also done dirty. Vegeta could have lost with way more grace. We got Resurrection F next. Vegeta finally beating the shit out of Frieza was very satisfying to see, but the best moment was probably the return of Captain Ginyu. The rest of it was kinda Goku gets caught off guard. Not to mention Gohan being a total disappointment. Wait a minute. That's the guy from One Punch Man. There we go. All fixed. They just look so alike. The guy who doesn't work out in a tracksuit. Perfect. Next up, the Saiyan arc. I'm about to have some panties in a twist. It was a good starting point for Z, but the other arcs are just way better. It had a lot of badass moments, and a lot of not so badass moments. It sucks being a Yamcha fan. Goku vs. Vegeta is a classic, but if everybody didn't jump Vegeta, including Yajirobe cutting off his tail, he would've won. That's why I'm putting Battle of Gods ahead of it. Now, in order not to sound like a moron, let's assume this is the movie and not the terrible arc in Super. Even though I know we're technically ranking the arcs, but hey, this is my video, I can bend the rules. Beerus was a great introduction. This guy took the power ceiling everybody knew from Z and kicked it sky high. The battle between him and Goku was great, especially the stuff in outer space. And it's pretty significant for marking the return of Dragon Ball after so many years. I also really like Super Saiyan 2 Vegeta with a rage boost actually doing damage. And of course, Goku's I will not let you destroy my world line. Next up, I got the Zamasu Arc. I really like what they did with Goku Black. And Super Saiyan Rose was a fascinating form. Not to mention Fused Zamasu having one of the best villain designs. But they did my boy Trunks dirty, especially in the beginning. The good thing is they kinda redeemed him towards the end. I really like this. But the best part is the return of Vegito. What a clean looking fight. The Namek Saga. This was the arc where all of these characters really came into their own. It also kind of felt like a giant cat and mouse game, which was super fun. But of course, the highlight, Super Saiyan 1. This is the arc that made history and revolutionized shonen forever. That being said, the fight is way too long. This was like over 20 episodes in Z, 10 episodes in Kai, and even AMVs of it are over 10 minutes. What? There are phenomenal moments in there, but it also drags so much. Not to mention Frieza's 5 minutes did not help, bro. This shit took 50 hours. Also, Piccolo had one of the coldest entrances of all time. Still, an all-time classic. Starting off the top 3 with the Majin Buu Arc. I know a lot of people complain about it, but I love it mainly because of Super Saiyan 3. Easily the coolest looking transformation of all time. Even though in practice, it's kind of bad. I also love what they did with Ultimate Gohan, or my preferred name, which is a fan name, Mystic Gohan. This is one of my favorite fights in Z, even though all Gohan did was just throw a couple of punches and kicks. The Goku vs. Majin Buu fight was also good, but the best fight has gotta be Goku vs. Majin Vegeta. I literally started watching Z just to get to this fight. And even though the ending was kinda disappointing, the entire fight throughout was amazing. At number 2, and originally what I had at number 1, the Tournament of Power. I love this arc, mainly because of Ultra Instinct. I did not grow up with Dragon Ball Z as a kid, but I did watch Super as it was airing, so Ultra Instinct was my Super Saiyan moment. An incredible form, and my second favorite after Super Saiyan 3. Now, of course, it's not perfect. There were a couple of fights that were completely meaningless and kind of dragged it down. But for the most part, a lot of characters were done justice. They did not forget about Vegeta. I love Blue Evolution. Also, I'm gonna say it right now, they introduced the greatest waifu in all of Dragon Ball. Kefla is better than 18, better than Bulma, and better than Chi-Chi. Fight me. But of course, I can't not mention my boy Jiren. I get hyped up every time I see this motherfucker. His fight against Goku is my favorite fight in the entirety of Dragon Ball. This was one of the most badass scenes ever. If anything, just that fight alone is worth watching the entire Tournament of Power for. And finally, at number 1, the Android Saga. In terms of personal enjoyment, it and the Tournament of Power are neck and neck for me. Either one could have been number 1. But the reason why I went with the Android Saga was because it embodies what Dragon Ball and especially Z is about perfectly and way better than any other arc. The feeling of getting stronger. Piccolo becoming a Super Namekian, Vegeta being the first to ascend past Super Saiyan with Grade 2, Trunks single-mindedly putting everything into power with Grade 3, Goku mastering the form with Grade 4, Gohan becoming the strongest with Super Saiyan 2, and of course the many evolutions of Cell, my favorite villain in all of Dragon Ball. The storyline was also easily the most interesting, involving time travel and different timelines. But don't even get me started on the battles, dude. Cell versus Goku, Piccolo versus 17, and my favorite fight in Z, Vegeta versus Semi-Perfect Cell. It felt so good to finally see Vegeta getting a proper W. On top of how he looked sauced out of his mind. That scene where he's upside down and he's holding Cell in midair is one of the most disrespectful moments in all of anime. But of course, there are a couple of things to criticize. Mainly, the structure of the Cell games as a tournament arc was an absolute joke. And they also had a lot of red herrings as to like who's the main villain. It was kind of a mess, but it kind of worked in the end. It hyped up Cell pretty well. Overall, for my money, greatest arc in Dragon Ball. Psych! We all know the best arc is Goku and Piccolo getting their driving licenses.